Heading into this NBA season, I've been finding myself surprised at how little excitement there seems to be about Scottie Barnes. Now, it could be a byproduct of the Toronto Raptors being firmly in a rebuilding/retooling phase, but even when taking that into consideration, there are very few players that have done as much as he's done at such a young age and in such a short amount of time. So I want to take a really in-depth look at everything that Scottie Barnes showed us last year that makes me confident the Toronto Raptors have a perennial all-star on their hands who maybe even has some all-NBA potential. As always, if you find yourself enjoying this video or you find it informative, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. Let's jump into it. The most appealing aspect of Scottie Barnes' game is the fact that he's able to operate as one of these coveted point forwards. This archetype of player is something that pretty much every team in the NBA is looking for if they don't already have one. Scottie Barnes is one of the few true forwards in the league that can operate as the pick and roll ball handler on a consistent basis. And there are inherent advantages that come along with being a 6'7" forward that can comfortably dribble off a screen, get downhill, draw multiple defensive bodies, and then connect with whoever the roll man is to create easy points. Barnes is a 70% finisher at the rim, according to cleaningtheglass.com, so defenses are almost always forced to have the defending big in the pick and roll, at bare minimum, flip their hips to show onto him. And what's great about Barnes is how he's able to use that height to create passing windows over the top of defenses, something that shorter pick and roll ball handlers aren't able to do. This changes the dimensions of a standard pick and roll because instead of having to rely on capitalizing on horizontal passing angles, Scottie can make use of that vertical space that he has access to, making the task of connecting with rolling bigs a much more doable one. Knowing this, defenses oftentimes have to send tags off of corner shooters, with the goal being to sell out on the ball handler and rolling big in the pick and roll, and then hope that Scottie isn't able to connect with the corner being helped off of. But the problem with that is Scottie is growing increasingly comfortable making those skip passes to shooters, so he ends up having a counter for whatever coverage he may end up seeing. If you show 2 on him at the level, he's going to feed the big on the short roll. If you operate and drop, then he'll bait the defense until the very last second and connect with the big anyways. Tag the roller and he's just going to hit the skip pass. These are things that we see asked of point guards, not 6'7" wings. But for all intents and purposes, Scottie Barnes might as well be a point guard. And while he may not have the quickness of a guard that's, say, 6'2", he's still quick enough and has reliable enough ball control when driving that he can get defenses to overhelp on these drives, resulting in him being able to capitalize on the low-hanging fruit of shooters waiting for him one pass away. Teams are virtually always going to be punished if they decide to help off of strong side corners because he's conscious of that, and the second he sees it happen, he's going to make that read. And with that ability to dribble into traffic and still maintain ball security, allows him to just wait until the last second for a cutter to slip behind the back line of defense, and then he can make easy dump offs for easy points. Inversely though, you still get the benefits of his physical traits as a power forward because you can feed him in the post, creating simple opportunities where you can capitalize on his gravity. If he's posted up and a double team comes, he's going to find whoever is one pass away to generate an easy catch and shoot look. If they send the help from the weak side like the Bucks do with Portis here, while this does take away the pass to a shooter one pass away, it doesn't matter because Scottie can still make the weak side skip pass out of the post to capitalize on the rotating defense. Now, if a defense help off the interior big, Scottie's still going to find a way to create a pass, pivoting and pump faking to get Brook off the ground before getting the ball to Pirtle's hands so he can finish it. With 2 defenders on Scottie, it leaves 4 offensive players and 3 defensive players on the help side. Gary Payton is cutting off Grady Dick one pass away, so he's going to cut up the middle, leaving Payton recovering and the 2 interior defenders having to cover for him, leaving Olynyk open in the corner for the shot. Opposing defenses don't even need to commit to the double team. Even if you just sag off the corner a little bit too much, Barnes is going to rifle it to the corner quicker than you're able to recover and close out on the shooter. When the Raptors incorporate pin-in screens with Scottie's post gravity, it can create open opportunities above the break, and it leaves the defense completely helpless. Barnes is also just capable of orchestrating your offense in the half court, reading the defense like a quarterback to find the weak points so that he can facilitate high percentage looks. He's got an empty corner and he motions to Siakam to come as though he's going to get a handoff. McConnell is the low man here, meaning that he has to help on anything in the paint. So Siakam waits for Mathurin to angle himself to chase him over the handoff, and he instead is going to cut up the middle. And knowing that Siakam will have no trouble dealing with the low man McConnell, Barnes feeds him on the way to the basket for the easy points. He notices Capella playing low, expecting Barnes to drive or for Poeltl to screen for him, so Barnes motions to Poeltl to set a flare screen for Quickley, and Barnes feeds him in space so that he can take advantage of Capella playing so far away from the perimeter. As he brings the ball up on this possession, you can see him pointing to the corner, wanting Brown to set a pin down for Grady to curl, since there's not really a center presence available to provide help. This gets Garrison Matthews behind Grady, leaving Bogdanovic in a bad spot, and it's going to create a nice clean look. But it's not just in the half court that you can see Barnes create these easy offensive opportunities for the Raptors. He's perhaps at his best when he's operating in transition and pushing it up the floor against an unset defense, and it's something that he's among the best in the league at. He is elite at using his eyes when they've got a numbers advantage to keep defenders unsure of where the ball is going to go next so that he can create easy looks in 3-on-2 scenarios. It's a big bonus too that you get these advantages with him being the defensive rebounder that he is. He averaged 5.9 defensive rebounds per game last year and had a defensive rebounding rate of 18.9%, putting him in the top 25% of defensive rebounders in the NBA last year. When he's ending possessions on the defensive end and then subsequently bringing the ball up in transition, you get a lethal weapon that can generate some of the highest percentage offense that an NBA team can get. It's no surprise that when Scottie Barnes was on the floor last season, the Raptors added 4.5 points per 100 possessions via their transition play, and this was a mark that put them in the 94th percentile in the NBA when he was on the floor. Point forwards are becoming more and more prevalent in today's NBA, and it's hard to argue that Scottie Barnes isn't already one of the NBA's best. His assist rate has climbed steadily throughout his time in the league, and last year's 25.4% assist rate was good for the 97th percentile amongst forwards in the NBA right now. We can look at Toronto's corner three-point percentage to see how he impacts the offense, something that can be used as an indicator of how a player generates high percentage offense for a team when they're on the floor, and what happens to those numbers when that player leaves the floor. With Scottie on the floor, they convert their corner threes at a 39.2% efficiency. When he leaves the floor, that efficiency craters to an abysmal 34.5%. A possible reason for this is because the advantages that Scottie creates result in corner threes that are more quote-unquote open, where a defender is pulled further away from the shooter, and it allows the shooter to have a cleaner look. And while Toronto's offense is far from ideal even with Scottie Barnes on the floor, scoring only 114.5 points per 100 possessions, it's a drastically worse 110.5 when he leaves the floor. He's the very definition of a floor raiser offensively, and even though he still has a ways to go as a scorer, he made significant strides last year. His catch and shoot numbers from three not only improved in terms of strictly efficiency, but the volume has nearly doubled from his first two seasons. I think it's unlikely he ever becomes a consistent off-the-dribble three-point shooter on any meaningful volume, so it's extremely important that he's capable of knocking down threes off the catch to provide spacing for whoever emerges as Toronto's other shot creator next to him. And while I don't anticipate him being a high volume creator from three, we have seen a burgeoning mid-range game from him. You can tell that sometimes he has to remind himself that he can, in fact, shoot mid-range shots, so there's still occasionally some hesitation on his part when it comes to taking the open ones. He's at his best when he's not thinking too hard and simply reacting, and this is where you'll really see him shine. These drag actions are great for him because if the big isn't playing up in the space coming off that second screen, Scottie's confident flowing directly into these middies. You'll see him use his shoulder a lot to create separation from his defender, and once he's able to generate that little bit of space, he leans into that nice shooting touch that he has in these in-between areas. While his handle looks comfortable when he's dribbling inside the arc, you can tell he's still figuring out everything that he's capable of in the mid-range, so there's this split second or two between when he realizes that he's gotten space from his defender and when he actually starts to flow into his shot. The smaller that he can make this transition and the quicker he can flow from dribbling to shooting is going to be a factor that dictates how much he can lead on the mid-range game as a significant part of his scoring bag. Also, it's worth mentioning that he has a 7'3" wingspan and a 9-foot standing reach. He has the physical tools to where strict separation from his defenders isn't always going to be mandatory, and he might just get to the point where he starts shooting over top of guys. But that's a confidence thing, and that's going to have to come with time and reps. And aside from the rebounding, I haven't even mentioned a single thing about his defense yet, which is arguably just as exciting as the offensive stuff. His defensive versatility is obviously a major draw. He's not necessarily the most mobile power forward in the world, but he makes up for it with the fact that that monstrous wingspan can make up for just about any time where he gets beat off the dribble. It's really fun to watch him track the ball when he's defending because he's not necessarily worried about defending the shot itself. When it comes to how he operates as a shot blocker, he's okay with you getting the shot off because he knows that he can get to a place where he's going to be able to get the block. He baits guys into situations where they'll feel like they've got him beat so that they're comfortable going up for the shot, only for him to catch them completely by surprise by sticking out those go-go gadget arms to get the block. He is undoubtedly a top 5 shot blocking wing in the NBA right now. He averaged 1.5 blocks per game last season, and he clocked a 3.7% block rate, and that rate put him top 5 among power forwards and in the 86th percentile among the entire NBA. He can sniff out plays before they begin, seeing DeRozan set up to receive double drag screens, and so he preemptively steps up to jump out at DeRozan so that he's not able to curl, giving Anunoby enough time to catch up behind him. And Barnes does a great job of making himself wide to deter DeMar from making any pass to Drummond, and he still stays close enough to him to where he's going to be able to block the shot when DeRozan goes up. He can be the cleanup guy for you too, being able to come up from anywhere on the floor whenever his teammates get beat so that he can cover for them. The amount of ground that Scottie can cover is something that makes him so deadly. It doesn't matter where on the floor he is. The offense has to be conscious of him at all times because he's liable to come out of nowhere and eviscerate your shot if you're not paying attention. And it's not just at the rim either. That wingspan allows him to fly up from down low to close out on perimeter shooters and turn what originally looks like open threes into blocked shots. He can play so many different roles for you defensively because of how he not only recovers from his own mistakes, but covers for everyone else's too. This theme of versatility is a paramount aspect of Scottie's game, and it's something that the Raptors are going to benefit from immensely. Regardless of who they draft or sign to put around him, he's projecting to be capable of morphing into whatever they need him to be to accommodate new personnel. He's going into his 4th season, and it still feels like we've only seen a small amount of what he's really capable of doing. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more stuff like this, go ahead and subscribe and leave a like so that you never miss another video. It really does help support the channel and allow me to keep making videos like this. Regardless, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.